How's it going now, guys? TalkNorwichCity here, back for another match review, and thankfully I'm sat at home in my warm house and I've just listened to the game on Radio Norfolk and watched it on a stream as well. And yeah, a disappointing 3-1 defeat to Cardiff tonight. And look, we're in a situation now where I think it's fair to say if you're worrying about the current state of Norwich City, you're well within your rights to do so. And I can't sit here and justify what's happening at the moment, because it is a worry. It's now 8 games without a win for Norwich City, and after tonight's performance, it's tough to see where things go from here. It's strange though, isn't it? Because a couple of months ago, I was sitting here after Reading, after Middlesbrough, I was at Ipswich, I sat here after Sheffield United, thinking I'm not sure where the next defeat is coming, because we just looked so good. And you do get caught up in that kind of winning mentality, don't you? And that mentality that you're not going to lose. And when you look back to that time, it is evident that we were scraping through games and we were putting in 110%, and the way in which we were playing wasn't a sustainable method in which to carry on winning. And we're now in a situation where I can't see where our next win is coming from. And I'm sure it's going to come soon, and this run can't continue forever, but it is very tough to see that next win. And if you are negative and if you are feeling slightly frustrated with the way Norwich City is going at the moment, then I can completely understand and can completely sympathise with you. Myself, I'm positive about Daniel Farke, I'm positive about Stuart Webber, but it is getting tougher by the week when you see the types of performances we're putting in, and the most frustrating thing is the distinct lack of improvement that we're seeing. Nelson Oliveira tonight looked like he'd completely lost his head. Why is Yannick Vilskut still not playing? It's still very narrow. The same defensive errors are creeping in terms of these crosses, and we're not being able to cut these things out. And that's the most frustrating thing, the distinct lack of improvement. In terms of tonight, it looked great going into half-time, and it was fun while it lasted. I think in terms of real time being played, we were leading for about 7 minutes. Stiepermann with a lovely strike. It's evident that he can't score from a yard out, but a 20-yard half volley, it's a guaranteed goal. 1-0 up, you're thinking happy days. Can we turn it around? The performance up until then was actually really good. We dug in deep. We soaked up Cardiff pressure. Let's not forget, Cardiff haven't lost at home all season. They've only conceded 4 goals all season. So to go into the half-time break 1-0 up, you're thinking, Jesus, like something's going to happen here. And then the second half, it all kind of came back to reality, and we realised just where we were. The Cardiff first goal was very odd, wasn't it? They'd scored from the corner, a header, Samba, and then it was given a penalty for a push, and Rawls finishes it from the penalty spot. Junior Hoylett scores the second, and Omar Bogle scores the third. Omar Bogle has scored just 6 championship goals in his whole career, and 3 of them have come against Norwich City, 2 for Wigan and 2 for Cardiff, which is a damning statistic, and a statistic that Norwich City won't enjoy. Unfortunately for Norwich, we couldn't make it 3 consecutive away wins at Cardiff in a row. We'd won our last 4 against Cardiff going into this game, but it wasn't to be tonight. And I think the thing is for Norwich is, and I've said it before, Norwich fans don't know where to direct their blame at the moment. I don't think it's Daniel Farke's fault. I don't think it's Stuart Webber's fault. I don't think it's all Delia Smith's fault. And I don't think it's Steve Stone's fault. It's a collective error. And I think we have to blame the previous regime for the situation we're in, the David McNally regime, the Moxie regime, the Alex Neil latter regime, in which we blasted millions of pounds away on complete average talent, and are now left paying a wage bill which is fairly average for the Championship, and we are now an average Championship side. And if we do want to get into the playoffs this season, it's going to take a complete overachievement, and that's going to show. We're underpaying on wages. The unbelievable statistic from the AGM is that we are, since last season, saving £185,000 a week on wages, yet we still have the likes of Matt Jarvis, Stephen Naismith, and some other very high earners on the books that aren't even playing. You look at Matt Jarvis, you look at Stephen Naismith, there's probably 60 grand still sitting there on the wage bill. You look at last season, Malumbu, Ruddy, Lafferty, Bennett, all of these players, we've saved 185 grand a week on wages from last season, yet we're still spunking so much cash on talent that isn't talent. It is very frustrating at the moment, and unfortunately, even the players that we thought we could rely on, the likes of Nelson Oliveira, aren't performing at the moment, and Maddison isn't coming up with the sparks of quality that we so desperately relied on earlier on in the season, and we now find ourselves in a position where we're hovering above the relegation zone. And I've seen a few people put out on Twitter over the last couple of weeks that we're in a relegation battle, and I couldn't quite kind of get that circulating in my head at first, because it's hard to believe that we've got the likes of Pritchard, we've got the likes of Maddison, we've got the likes of Angus Gunn in this side, and yet we're in a relegation battle. And yet that is the case. It is the case. We're now 8 games without a win. We're closer to the relegation zone than we are the playoffs, and we find ourselves in a very sticky situation. It's not looking good for Norwich City, and the next couple of fixtures aren't easy. There's Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds. They're 2 fixtures you don't want to be coming up against after 8 games without a win, and it's not looking ideal for Norwich. However, on paper we've still got a good team. On paper we've still got a good manager, and I do genuinely believe in the foundations in which we've set over the past 6 months. But the previous failings of the past 5 years have left us in a situation where we're struggling, and we're struggling desperately. 3-1 at Cardiff tonight. A long trip home for the supporters who've travelled. 600 Norwich City fans going down there tonight on a Friday night. I genuinely applaud every single one of you who've spent hard-earned money, probably have to take a day unpaid leave from work, and it's going to be a very late night for you guys getting home. To the Norwich fans who've travelled, I applaud you. You're all legends. And to the Norwich City fans sitting at home, well done. You made the right decision. Thanks very much for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe. It's going to be an interesting rest of the season. This narrative of Norwich City certainly never fails to deliver, does it? Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Peace out.